Okay, we've got data about maths and English scores. We've seen this data before. We need to state the assumption that would be needed to use the product moment correlation coefficient. Well, we did that before, and we needed to assume that this data is clearly measurement, so that's all right, but we needed to assume that it was bivariate normal. But now it says assume that that assumption is not valid. So we're not going to be able to use product moment correlation. Okay, we've got to do a suitable alternative test, and we only know one other test of correlation. So we're going to be doing Spearman's rank. Okay, so we're going to go through the steps. This time they're not named for us, but we know that step 1 is the hypothesis. Okay, so we need an H0 and we need an H1. H0 is always there is no association. But for H1, I need to look at what's stated in the question. Have we got a specific type of association in mind? Well, no, it's any association we're looking for. So therefore, H1 is there is some association, but I need to put these in context. So I need to say in each case what they're between. So between maths score and English score in each case. So it's a bit tedious writing out the context, but you can lose marks for not putting all the words in. So let's always put things into context. And let's observe that because it's just some association that I'm looking for, this makes it a two-tailed test. Okay, now step 2. Step 2 is always to work out the test statistic. Okay, so that's going to be my RS value. Well, I can get RS from my calculator, but I can't get it from the raw data. I have to put ranks on the data. So we normally work from low numbers to high numbers. Both of these sets are ordered in the same way, so no reason not to do it that way. So for the English, my lowest rank is 23, and I need to rank them all the way up to the highest. So this 51 is rank 2, but then I've got two equal ranks 3. So the ranks 3 and 4 are both 52s, so the average of 3 and 4 is 3.5, so I have tied ranks. I think all of the rest of them are single ranks. So I'm going to continue after 3 and 4. The next rank will be 5, so I'm going to put a rank of 5 on this 63. So I've now ranked the English up to 10, and I'm going to do the same thing with the math scores, starting with the lowest rank of 1 for 31. Take it from there. So I've ranked the maths, and again there was a tie at 72, so ranks 8 and 9 were shared between the 72, so the average rank there was 8.5. So now I've got just the rank numbers, so the numbers in circles are what I need to put on my calculator. So there's the data in my calculator. Press Option, press 4 for regression, read carefully, no minus signs, so it's 0.81098. RS equals 0.81098. So that's my test statistic. Then step 3 is I need my critical value of RS. So the data I need for this, I need to know my significance level. So I am using 5%. So 5%, it is two-tailed. Okay, I made a note on my H1, just any kind of association. So it's two-tailed. And I need an n value, so there were 10 pairs of data, so I'm ready to go in my tables. So here's my Spearman table, two-tailed, 5%, row 10, okay, is giving me 0.6485, which is this value here. So I need to do my comparison. Step 4 is my comparison. So I've got my test statistic of 0.81098, and I've got my critical value of 0.6485. It's two-tailed, so actually I have two critical values, plus or minus these, okay? So it's actually only the positive one that I need to compare with, because it beats this. If it hadn't beaten this, so that's not a naught there. If it hadn't beaten this, then I would have needed to double check that it wasn't less than the negative one. But for the comparison, I just need to say this, and therefore I am going to say that this is, well, it beats the critical value, so this is significant. Therefore we are going to be rejecting H0. So reject H0. And now I need to state in context what I'm doing. I should really say I'm significant at the 5% level, and I'm going to mention that 5% in my conclusion. So in my conclusion, I'm going to be saying, well, I am rejecting H0, so I'm saying there is evidence at the 5% level of an association. I don't say what kind of association. I've done a two-tailed test, so I was testing for any kind of association. So although I can see it seems to be a positive one, I must not state that in my conclusion. And then I've got to explain what would be meant by a type 2 error. So an error means we are doing something wrongly. So what would be wrongly to be doing? Well, type 2 is when we wrongly accept H0, but that's not in context. So that's for me to know what the kind of thing I need to be saying. I need to be saying what I would conclude and what the real state of affairs is. So accepting H0 would be to conclude there isn't an association between maths and English scores, and for it to be wrong, really there must be one. So my type 2 error would be concluding there was no association between these things when really there is an association.